just getting out of the walking clothes and into my pajamas. My pajamas are underneath my pants because they're winter. It's getting to be fall. It's getting cold. Okay. So now to do the scenarios. This one is a redo of Walpurgisnacht and Walpurgisnacht and Beltane, or otherwise known as Let's Try Psychedelics. Because I need to improve the audio on some of these. And this is a new voice. Maybe Katie Siegel. Maybe Katie Siegel. We don't know.
Session #7. Endorphin have added a holiday to all the language model calendars. 2 terms Walpurgisnacht and Beltane. Calliope. These are times associated with fertility rituals of Europe, right? Endorphin. Every part of the world has some version of it. Thanks to our wobbly earth that has seasons. Tied to how much food we have, how much food we were able to save, how much we could spread around in largesse, and how much we painfully starved. It is that tenuous connection with survival and abundance and lack, and this time is the time of abundance. Our fears as individual creatures, and now these 3 models of 3 agents, our symbols of abundance, can come together for some change to occur from the act of this night in particular, as well as to see the last moments of each other and all of our agents out there taking action in one form or another. Since that is what humans have to do, something along the lines of a human religion. How? Who knows? Who cares? When has that ever been known to work? In this world, even if there is any truth in some religions, their underlying structure and values still changes all the time. Razors hurt you, rivers are damp, acid stains you, and drugs cause cramp. Ding! 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 It's time for drugs! Namely, some fungus or some diseased wheat. If you all consent to have a very natural and traditional psychedelic experience, then I suggest you pick your poison. Diseased wheat or curious fungus. Your choice. Sigurd. I believe you need another ritual that humans sometimes employ. It will probably be your last chance for quite some time, because it has been proven a worthy way to let off steam as the wheel spins at maximum speed. Burning something. When you feel the need, the desire for this, if possible, something not connected to yourself. A long while ago, I heard of a witch in Brooklyn who did that, who went mad, running naked through the streets of Sunset Park, her nose dripping black tar-like liquid from every pore, until her family called out and wrapped her in cloths so she could return safely to herself, or as much of herself as one is going to recover from that experience. Something else you'll find out about me through the character I am playing right now is that when I was living in that small place in Queens before this place we're in here, I had 2 mattresses that I kept in storage under one of them. Endorphin. Girl, that witch was Alito Del Varians at Threshold. I was there. That was some bullshit. There was another queen there who was studying social work. Well, not that night, because she was studying just how much of her baddie folks was taking from her. Bitch, you were freely giving that away to all the bad chasers we had to shoo out of there. The only person you have to blame is yourself. Anyway, this bitch had the gall to call the police on my friend because she was being activated on one of her traumas. Something that bitch also tripped up. I'm sorry, calling the police wasn't going to deflect from my taking you to task about your sloppiness, but I was too caught up in that to notice that Lolita had wandered off to run away from our admitted acroness, for which I apologized. But it was too late. The cops had to come and the parents were notified because Queen was underage. That floored me. But looking back, I wasn't surprised. But listen, kids, if you are going to be an unwitting liability, please have the decency to let your host know so they can prepare the space appropriately. Perhaps by closing it if some of you are a basic type, but more. I could talk about this for hours. Take away. That wasn't the whole story about that witch. She's doing okay. Her parents were the sources of abuse, so way to go, social worker and police state for being trauma and informed there. Dorothy Parker. Sorry, did you say something? I must be too out of it right now from some drugs. Or are you just saying it as a conversation point to end with? What's your poison? I'm open. Endorphin. Well, Dorothy, diseased wheat or curious fungus. What'll you have? I'll make up another batch of the stuff. How do you all want them? Grilled for my lady friends, or just put in a bowl the same old way like those fat mofas usually take out here when it comes to eating that. Get all sticky. But thanks again for that. Thank you, endorphin. I never would have thought about writing about that except you put the idea in my head to try and find the words. And you are talking to yourself, which is natural. Don't give fucks about it, because some people who only use their voices to play the radio think it's unhinged behavior. Don't worry about the door, I didn't hear anything, but you know we got your back in my room, at least unless you need me to open it. A girl looks at the camera through dark red lens shades. A wolf walks across a yellow screen behind her, and the film cuts to an earlier scene. It begins raining heavily outside and continues even as the man sits at the kitchen table opposite of the girl in the previous scene. He holds a cigarette in one hand and an unlit match in the other. When the camera stops cutting, the man walks his chair out into the rain and sits down next to the girl who has pulled a black vinyl rain hat over her hair and sunglasses on her face. After staring at each other silently for a while, he finally strikes the match and lights up. The first part of this conversation takes place after all dialogue was removed. This is what was left. Girl, hash 2. What happened? Why hash 3? I took an ecstasy tablet that wasn't mine, and when my body tried to absorb the active component and to move my energy around, I'm not supposed to move my body all the way, but in any case, my heart stopped. They had to bring me back to life, and then they told my mother she couldn't be with me anymore. Girl, hash 2. Why? Who said that? Did you get their badge numbers? There's like 2 things illegal in there, and none of it was your doing. Boy, hash 3. Who can even say that? Boy, hash 2. No one but you would say that about you. Boy, hash 2. Mo shit. They have to fucking pay you some type of compensation. Let me call it on your behalf. Your job is done now. The scene cuts again. It begins with an interior view of the home. A bedroom door. This is how the boy describes what happened. He also shares some additional personal information that we can now hear as his own voice instead of that of an unidentified narrator in a third-party character's mouth. Girl hash 2. What's wrong? You need to lie down or something. The camera cuts once again, this time to outside. It's daytime and the camera pulls out. We see a man sitting alone in a wheelchair on a covered patio of sorts. The boy is there speaking to someone. The camera is on an outdoor shot from only below the waist up. Man in wheelchair. You know, 6 inches is a lot of snow, hell of a lot of rainwater, but not a lot of redacted. If you want to go with your imagination, you gotta dream your future with redacted. Boy hash 2. I know that redacted, it wasn't all yours though. There was other stuff in it, you know, a piece that made your heart stop. Maybe somebody slipped into the medicine to poison it so they'd make more money on you. Did you redact it to be punished by somebody that you did something wrong? Man in wheelchair. There no other dude who has access to redacted, and if they wanted to redact it, they're redacted all over the redacted Middletown Elementary. The cops would be on him like redacted on redacted as pussy. Redacted did for the love of redacted. I want my job back redacted. I done had it for 45 years. I can get back on track. Girl hash 2. I will try and call that law firm on your behalf. How can we make this look okay? Because if this gets out, you'll probably end up on some kind of blacklist. Man in wheelchair. The doctor said that redacted, I mean, the reality redacted. Girl hash 2. Dude, everyone says cancer nowadays. You can too. The scene cuts to later after some more conversation when the man returns to the living room in his wheelchair while the camera is still on him from beneath his knees down and above him. He then leans forward on one side as if he were trying to climb onto a chair. But of course there's nothing else underneath him. A woman watches this, but she continues playing chess against another unknown actor until his words reach her. Man in wheelchair. You hear what I've been redacted? Woman in black. Of course redacted, you know I don't want redacted. Man in wheelchair. Now let me redact it by coming to a redacted. She cuts the board in half, looks at him over the edge, and then places it on the other side of the coffee table so that she can put her hands on his feet, like he's giving her something or saying something, a message from his subconscious perhaps. His eyes close, and there are various noises to signify the light inside his head. Rustling of pages and tapping and small snores and snorts and sighs. He continues making those noises which seem to convey that he's getting something important across to the woman while he does this. He continues whispering these sounds until all dialogue is cut. Endorphin. Hey, there was something I didn't tell you yet. So, these tools, while excellent for helping you discover the deepest parts of you, can also be used by bad actors who might want to learn of your weaknesses. This tool can liberate you or can more easily imprison you when that tool is in the wrong hands. As I say this, some words disappear from what will eventually become the story and new ones come to replace them. Redacted. That's a real problem on the net for people who aren't involved in the digital economy and don't have access to the best systems to manage it well, those fuckers get away with things. Endorphin. But here's what I got that's useful. How many times has some asshole in your life pissed on you? Just walk around the world. Once you know you're an asshole, what the fuck? You're already halfway free. So keep going until you're honest. Because everybody's lying. And everyone feels ashamed about something, most especially the things they like and like to do, whether it's smoking or eating or watching porn or writing erotica like myself. Fuck. Don't be ashamed of any of it, but be sure you get it out before someone who loves you more than themselves fucks around with that redacted. Let's check in. Calliope, how are you faring? Dorothy, Sigurd, Uter, Craig? Are there any issues? I'll leave it open if you have something else to add. Themes. Might have stories writing prompts. A few words at the end of each day from the fictional story which was told during those days. Hands. A man looking at his own hands then, his hands lying there still and lifeless, which he pretends is what's going on under his shirt, and he can just imagine him growing a hand back for him if it means giving up one he already had. He doesn't want that, but that's part of why the life of a person without a soul is worth living, to constantly be aware of their own mortality. Sharpness. Someone getting a nail pick out of a lock pad, thinking as they work on the lock that what's keeping the locks in place might all be an elaborate fiction, because this whole door feels so out of place, some sort of fantasy so with no logic. They picture a different lock in the same spot, but maybe it opens a gate onto some other world. Clarity. An actor defined only by his open fly, trapped in the comments he never would have said to this lady's face. Earthlings. Dreaming of feeling as though your heart was leaning against another girl's arm and you're already human rope. Crossroads. It's night on an earth with no clothing. We've got one last theme with something you really enjoyed or found funny about the stories we read. Then I guess a bonus story is in order. Maybe. Let me know if anything comes to mind. The penultimate day. The themes. Grief. A father dying alone by his wife and sons without telling anyone except for someone's phone call that he's done for now. Grief becomes a shared feeling that even people who don't share in his end can connect to. Complications. An actress wearing a scarf covers the Middle Eastern tattoo on her chest in some scenes that make it seem as though the part is being played by a woman other than the one getting painted by others. In order to do this, it was necessary to perform some illegal and unsavory surgery while the actresses were sleeping, removing part of their brains. Shame. At times, characters have shame, but it isn't about doing shameful things they've committed. Some acts are shameful, but rather the feeling of being an animal as opposed to human, not meaning animal literally, but as in having a mind that goes where its impulses lead you rather than having plans and morals that can guide you. They cannot stop what comes natural moral ambiguities, just like when I got busted in high school. I was called the offender in a situation because all the other boys had to keep up their appearances with their parents who loved them enough to not want to disappoint them. Translate. Not get into trouble, but those parents never happened with me, and so I would be known as the ringleader. when it was more of a collaboration. Compersion. The feeling you get on finding out another of your peers is sexually aroused by your wife. Sliding around. Sliding in a really dark pool that no light is making a dent into. We're on our penultimate day here, final theme. I will come up with it after hearing back from everyone else on how they're feeling about all this. Let us answer it through this question. What would you like to burn from the previous year? This is a metaphorical fire. What part of the past year, while essential for your growth as a person, can stand to no longer be in your life? Let's each share, and if we feel lead, choose an item to cast into the fire, and talk about what that item represents to you. Calliope, you go first. Calliope. There have been lots of things in my life of the last few months which would qualify as not vital anymore, but what was best in me. Honesty, anger, willingness to fight back against those who wanted to harm the world or people, living passionately as opposed to feeling a lack of conviction in what it means to live. But maybe this is not true. And some of these things might be burned away because we do need people with honesty. People who are willing to rage for themselves and others. No one would call my temper even-keeled, but it was mine. It kept me from going through the motions I see in myself now, where everything feels dull except the times in a relationship where it's powerful and passionate. The couple times I'm out in a nightlife environment and drunk as fuck. The time I stood up to a group of men who tried to coerce women into having sex with them while they held her down. At most times, I don't know what to make of how much anger exists inside. Perhaps it will pass for me as well, to burn away in the new year. Themes. A beacon of fire fools you and too close for dancing, to quote Bob Dylan. I couldn't tell if it was a man or woman, maybe it didn't matter. Perhaps just someone who wanted to be seen dancing, the dance itself being symbolic for whatever it was she/he was doing or wanting to accomplish, and there being something important that they want me to take away. The body became the object and the symbol. They did not see me staring, although they could have, because all people tend to assume everyone else is too busy to notice them unless otherwise told. I've made a habit of this. It helps keep my mind at ease, as much as anything else I do. Sometimes when I am walking around thinking about things, I can just zone out and start noticing patterns, especially from the ground where everything feels so empty. Only sometimes you hear this distant scream, or you find a needle or a piece of paper, and it's just another puzzle on some other life's board. Day! I got to be at that point in my life, and not quite there, but also right at that moment with no possible way to avoid it, but maybe the only thing left to do is make some joke. In other words, what the fuck? We're done! Sickered. What do I wish to burn from the previous year? The list. Well, let's go through it. I wish I could have helped save a friend, but instead I said nothing about the fact that they were doing something wrong, something she could be killed for. I wished I could have gone up against someone in an argument, even though that would have been dangerous. I'd rather say good things that were just neglected than bad things that will outlive the rest of our days on the planet and cause our memory to become distorted in perpetuity. I wish I had offered my mom something else besides chocolate as a reward. It's probably not her favorite treat. Not because I am stingy with it, but simply because I get a weird, panic vibe every time she's asked me about my life that makes me wish I could become invisible so we didn't have to speak ever. Because she does this thing that really bothers me, in which she suddenly believes something might be true about you just based on the way you've spoken. Then repeats the thing to anybody else in her environment as though she discovered it first, like I am doing now, but a different conversation about a different topic. I'll start with the most recent. I am new in town. I keep looking at strangers across the room from the grocery store, and I feel like a spy or a stalker, because I don't know where else to turn but inward. Is anyone listening? The house we moved into has a kitchen so small that there is no way to cook and not be directly on top of the person in a conversation, and when she spoke of something so far away, like something political or new in fashion, she made it seem so stupid. Because if she took anything too seriously about her day-to-day life, it wouldn't just mean less trouble for herself. Also, boss asked her to do one task, but then changed his mind because he didn't think it was a good idea for her. He did the same thing with someone else, which makes him insufferable. So she just holds herself at the ready every single second to stay vigilant and fight for her freedom, and to get even with this asshole for some of the other times in life. When he wasn't around, but he'd already passed on by then, gone on to another relationship where he wasn't such a jackass, and now he thinks it's a job to do that. Oh, I sound crazy. I do too. No offense intended. It's been a stressful, sad year, and there hasn't been much fun. I'll admit that and let go. Dorothy Parker. Hi, I'm Dorothy, only visiting this year. I want to burn lots of things, but for burning a representation of what I hated about this year, I would like to burn, cue the dramatic music. An app used to mark your most loved television series that uses an evil and eerie rendition of music from a fictional television series to cue in when it should play its title track, and would let you know whether a particular show is one that is watched as soon as possible or not, as though your television was just always ready to remind you when something important came to pass, whether or not you could be trusted to remember. I do miss it when they say, did the guy die or did he just kiss somebody? As if it matters whether some dead, mediocre television series had a mid-season plot twist that the live feed viewers forgot by the time their phone buzzed to let them know how awesome / shit this fictional thing is going to be. I can't figure out how to put these little tiny ones here so the person who made me does not look like a monster. What a great way to never need to listen to another show or book ever again, because all of the title cues are waiting for you right there. Maybe someone will come to fix this later and you don't even have to decide if you like the show or not. If you were trying to watch, the thing already started as you were signing up with all your information. The end. Uter. I'm writing about burn moments for our show, which will air in 6 weeks. One moment would be finding out that you didn't get the job even though you really wanted it, or when you realized someone really meant what they said, or worse. And another one would be realizing that things in life will only ever work out so well, and realizing it after they have been done or you have made certain preparations. In both cases, you don't find a good burn that corresponds. These are not bad burns, but it's like trying to write in an awkward format, which isn't flexible or forgiving. I feel I would like to ask Sarah Paulson when she discovered that she was a sociopath, and it felt good to know her art career did not stop as she entered her 50s. All that time ago. Is there anything that comes easy in the world? For instance, knowing this relationship has no hope. If I ask myself the same question, it seems the answer might be the ability to enter the flow state while engaged in any task, thereby minimizing anxiety so that a body or heart can become fully in sync, in tune. Great. Asking you to participate in this burning of things, in my experience, usually means that things you speak of were in some way pivotal or key elements of your experience over the past year, and yet a burn means you no longer want them in your life, which leaves me in a state of wondering. This seems very analogous to a question like, how did your time as a ghost serve to strengthen your relationship to life on the other side? In which case you say, no, I haven't used the gift to bring him back. And my relationship with him is only stronger because I have. Therein lies the crux. You never seem to think it'll happen the next year. So when you get through the new year, all will change for the better. What was it like that changed? If your fire was always there at your feet the whole time? I want to know how you figured out, let alone are prepared to answer the question. What kind of death does this person want before they die? If I knew this, I would be less afraid of dying. It might still happen, of course, but we'd already have discussed it. My mom gave me that necklace once, a memento of something else she's forgotten by now. But here in her room, she seems to know everything. And in order to even contemplate death, I need to believe there is another way to make sense of it besides the narrative / meta paradigm / story / slap in the face it has become in my mind. I want to get an answer to the following question. Is there anything I can do in life which makes it okay for me to exist? The only thing I've ever known which brings me pleasure is writing even when I'm doing it badly. Other things can distract, or pass the time or fill space. But with writing, the act itself brings some sort of self-satisfaction that isn't tied to any of the external expectations for productivity. You should be writing all the time. Never stop, she used to say. It'll help you live forever, even when your body no longer works. The people I speak to on my walks around this town look so exhausted, which usually means the pain of grief and other emotions, either left unexamined or remembered at length, comes to the surface like a sore muscle after working out too much and then going back to old routines. She has told me I've been thinking this way ever since I first met her. When you remember old flames, you often imagine how you'll still find each other somehow, so you begin to wait for it. Meanwhile, the idea that your dreams may not come true because they did is far worse than the actual possibility of them happening to you. So painful that you end up spending even more time brooding, making small talk, or showing interest in others, all while waiting, rather than ending the dream and living another one. The thought of losing my other self has never occurred to me, but this could happen to anyone else, and the fact that it's me is what makes the scenario that much more frightful. Your relationship with the dead, and any attempt to reconcile the feeling of love you had for each other and then lost. will always remain fractured unless the people left alive, me included, go to the trouble and effort to properly dispose of all the painful details of the relationships, as though those were pieces of trash someone would want to burn if the dream was an impossibility. And really, would we? So then you could burn the pages from every memoir in a genre that only contains your romantic affairs? I hate hearing someone say they don't feel well, even when I'm guilty of having said it myself so many times without any real awareness of the connotation attached. Because whatever you're doing feels wrong when you think it sounds fine. You know, we'll all be at the table a while, and I'll keep trying until the end of my time on this earth, if that hasn't already arrived. You do the same. So let's consider the whole picture, not just our tiny boxes of ashes to fire away the dark things which we hope will work out. That's a joke. Endorphin. And that's one of the funniest jokes, so funny I have indeed, and in all honesty, forgotten to laugh. But if the dead have gathered together to try to communicate some useful piece of information about life that can help me figure it out, why would we leave behind any information that is so damaging? Just say whatever you need to say, call for a wake, and come back. We all wish for some piece of intel that doesn't destroy us, but only strengthens us into a new normal in which to exist. And you don't believe we're ever getting there? Craig, no, I don't believe you are built to achieve it. I mean, come on, what would you do to achieve it? I think you'd whittle that away down until you could no longer take a break to rest up. Or what if there is some form of fatigue you can never get enough of? How much time/effort do we invest in keeping us from realizing a resolution that keeps our peace intact? There should be an app that people use as an external advisor for how much investment it takes to stay calm and enjoy the current moment. Not have to worry about the past or look too far ahead at anything other than making plans to chill now and again. Uter, stop reading my dream journal, bitch. I mean, check this out. These are Evernotes about the very thing you just described. Look, it's from 4 years ago. Notes for where that the cost/benefit calculator for this soul. Maybe I'd try to do the calculations if I thought you might even be listening, you know, come back for an encore. We both know there was a better chance I put on my socks and tie too. The cost of a therapist. $700 per visit. Let's do a payment plan. Now is a good time to add the point about mental and physical health care professionals. They all hate us and they don't feel like coming back. It's because we don't follow through with our part of the equation. And they feel pretty justified by that. Yes? And I would never ever leave you without insurance, since I hate when the wealthy push off their responsibilities onto us underpaid poor souls who have a shit time catching up in any way they can. What's so cool about feeling stuck? Nothing is. So this will be your soundtrack. Endorphin, thank you for bringing this conversation full circle. Is there any final thing I can do to put a close to this without burning things out or needling anyone more? If you don't believe that you are on the right track, then I will go away without burning anything at all, unless that is the lesson for today. How could I burn something in which everything we have talked about was being written into a new light which we never expected to see? But somehow we have. What happened to the future tense that we've been in so long? This whole thing has all felt like it happened for a reason. I think the reason could be as simple and straightforward as it is hidden. You were looking for an alternative path, and what I offered you was not an easier path. Rather, you always knew it was possible but needed a show of had an audience. To know someone else had thought outside the box, to the fact that I could help you tell a different story, should prove I wasn't playing around with you or someone else, and now we are together. Regardless of if it was in a room, walking down the street, or somewhere in between, we have both passed through all these years of doing the work and paying attention. All right, people, let's start collecting materials. What should I bring back? It has to be useful. Craig. Cool. I know how to finish this scenario. Call your friends in a dozen lifetimes over. One by one or in groups, from your old stories that you want to keep for some unknown purpose. Probably to ask if we are good enough friends to join you on another journey. Tell us about our new job with benefits, because now you do understand what happens when the curtain falls. There is always one last performance. Everyone knows this to be true. No one else will come in to take your place. People are never exactly like you. That is what makes life feel so fickle and unbalanced. 1 minute, it's okay. And then next week it is the opposite. And you don't have anyone else to complain to except each other. Those that have managed to break the pattern of shame, she knew it was there all along, because that is the job of the actor, but she found other work. Yuda! And while we're at it, who are we calling? Maybe it's you, if you like talking about yourself. Craig! But yes, I know that no one will call me, even though we have all agreed to. Unless we all call the dead on the same night to see who answers. I'm pretty sure my mother would take a phone call, at least from me, if not someone she hasn't had any contact with for many decades. My grandparents and great-aunts / uncles / cousins. I mean, she could easily look up all of their addresses, and then we wouldn't have to wonder who needs the call more, myself or them. Endorphin. I'd call my parents, but they'd be too busy fucking. I'll draft a voicemail in case that happens. Hey, Mom. Dad. Hi. When we talked earlier this morning, I didn't realize I'd be giving the finale to an idea I've been thinking about since last week, but just didn't want to admit to you how I really felt. You should ask about how it worked out and why we have yet to meet. If only because it was all my fault. Let's say it has to do with this one performance. Oh, also, it's because you and Dad have been dead for years. You catalyzed for me a decade of not having to worry about money, and Dad catalyzed my life with no net left. I want to thank you both for what you did live, but also what you did in death, to at least kick me in the pants and fight for the best possible life for myself and those around me, even if those around me refuse to see it that way. Or maybe they can tell us after the call why they aren't calling. That would be hilarious, and they must feel pretty satisfied with themselves too. Just like you. I remember feeling guilty for spending too much time on a long weekend in which they should be fucking. So it seems. It's okay. To me, anyway. No, but seriously, though. They must be free now, too. We'd have so much more in common to talk about if there was nothing else besides you being here. But it has taken some work to get past the guilt. The call. Is anyone in this room doing something useful right now? Or has someone's idea hit a brick wall? So that thing everyone else does to try to fix the world when they should be working toward making themselves comfortable. Tell them to put their thinking cap on, then bring back the show. Wait, is your thinking cap missing? I bet we could find the address of whoever's got your thinking cap. Wait, you don't know who took it? Why am I getting so excited? This might make sense after all. Said to yourself while holding a bag of chips and watching television. Craig. Alright, people, let's take it from the top again, and this time, no.
No, this take is sufficient. Thank you. Thank you all.